on the computer since he was in elementary school.
Hell
Probably
no.
they probably didn't even have him in elementary school. All right, welcome everybody to the IBN College Football Podcast. I'm your host IBN Yeezes. With me, I have my co-host Marcus, and unfortunately, we had to add Ben Garcia, Texas rep, and then my boy Jeff here for Texas rep. We are doing the Big 12 today. I do not have my tickers up, but I will be working on that as we go. It is the Big 12 preview. Texas fans, why y'all leaving?
Am I on there? Hold on. God damn it.
Y'all gotta excuse my boy Jeff. He's still on the wishbone computer.
Hell yeah. Hold on. I'll be right back.
All right, Ben.
Yeah.
Since I know you got an opinion on it.
Oh
Is
yeah.
it Texas? Was it Texas' decision or Oklahoma's decision?
Nah, man, it was actually, you know what, man? I think probably Oklahoma reached out first, and then SEC said, we're like, we can't take you by yourself. You know, we need the big dog. We need them to go along with y'all. So no, actually, I'm not sure how it really worked out, man, but I'm happy it did. As we were after like the whole beginning, all the feedback we were getting, you know, all the trolling, the memes and stuff. I was actually happy because like the schedule, man, just perked up for us. You know, no more games in like Ames and Manhattan, Kansas. You know, just it's better games, man. Like, man, hopefully we play LSU. We're gonna get Aggies back. You know, so yeah, man, I'm excited. You know, I'm just waiting for Marcus to go ahead and start teeing off on me about.
Wait, real quick before Marcus tee off on you. When you said y'all gonna get the Aggies, are you admitting that you're going to be SEC West? Bama's not moving. We're all in agreement on that, right?
No, man. If they're not gonna split UT and Oklahoma. So if it's gonna be 2 school divisions, man, Bama's gonna move east. I know y'all don't believe me, but I'm just telling you that's the way it's gonna work.
I don't.
It works that way.
Like, no, think about this though. What you're saying is that Texas and Oklahoma are going to move to the SEC, and Bama is going to then move over with Georgia, Florida, and who's the other squad over there that's going to cry? Tennessee, I think.
Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and the
East
Florida.
Yeah, Georgia
along with Auburn. I mean, they're gonna do it geographically. Mizzou will be back in the West.
I'll be back.
All right, we got Jeff back. Jeff,
yeah,
go ahead, Marcus.
My thing is, not saying it's not going to happen, but from an SEC standpoint, why would I interfere, right? Why would I discomfort the biggest brand name that I have in my conference? Texas is a hell of a brand, right? We know what Texas football is. My thing is, I think they're going to split them, put one in the East, put one in the West, have a guaranteed crossover game between those two. And the SEC is looking at it, well, man, maybe down the road we can have 2 games of Texas and Oklahoma, get them in the SEC championship game, which would be crazy, and also have them as a guaranteed crossover, much like Tennessee and Alabama, Georgia. I think Bama, Georgia, and Auburn have locked-in crossover games. That's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to send – because, I mean, geographically, yeah, the SEC makes more sense the way they split the team between the East and the West. I just think if I'm Texas, man, I don't want to be in the West. I wouldn't want to be in the West. I would much rather – because it's just looking at it from a football standpoint, like it is more logical to be successful in the SEC if you're in the SEC East. I think you got a better chance of beating up on Florida, Georgia. Well, maybe not Georgia, but Florida, Tennessee, Arkansas. Well, Arkansas is in the West, but that's just what I think would be better off for Texas. And it's like, well, if you're Oklahoma too, I think, you know, both of you guys secure your financial futures, but damn, from Oklahoma, I went from being the big dog, the top dog in the Big 12, to almost having a chance to shoe in, be penciled in the college football playoff. And now you got to battle with Bama, A&M, LSU, UGA. And I just think, just like trickle-down economics has been a lie since the Reagan era, I think this trickle-down college football economics could be not a lie, but it may be a little misleading at first. I just want to see how Texas, what's the plan to return to glory, right? Like, there's no way Texas should be anything less than a 10-3, 9-4 maximum program at best over the next, 10 years. Like, it's going to be a lot tougher to that point, but I'm just curious. I'm not going to bash Texas like I do privately. But I'm just interested to see because I do think it provides a lot of opportunity from Texas. Like if you really look at it, like you secure your financial future, you take your blueprint and shift it 400 miles east to essentially the most fertile recruiting region in the United States. And it's like I agree with Ben. Like, man, it's a lot easier to sell to kids. You know what, man, who are from Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, Arkansas, whatever. You know what? Your parents want to come to see you. We're gonna be in Athens. We're gonna be in Knoxville. We're not going to be in Ames, Iowa, Manhattan, Kansas, and those places. So, Lubbock, Texas, it just doesn't have the same appeal and the same draw. So, I mean, I think it's a good deal. Like, I do think it's good for both programs. But my thing with Texas is just like, damn, man, if you're a 9-4 program in the Big 12 and you've been the second best program in the last 10 years, you go to a place that's ultra competitive like the SEC, right? Like, how's that going to balance out? Like, is that for that much money, you're going to average, 2 more losses a year? Maybe. I mean, I think Sark is going to find some things to get it cracking in Austin, but it's just like, man, I don't know. Outside of the money, I just want to see what the on-field product look like.
So
if I can just take it back a little bit, you were talking about going to SEC and obviously going to be a little tougher and stuff, but when the Big 12 was formed, Nebraska and Kansas State, they were the pinnacle of when they merged together, But you never know what happens, man. Like, Oklahoma got better, Texas got better. You just never know. So, I mean, if we look at it now, we see a tough road ahead of us or whatever. But man, we never know what happens 5-10 years down the line.
Yes.
So, and as far as the division thing, I mean, as a UT fan, I'd rather stay in the SEC West, where we actually get to play Oklahoma guaranteed every year. We get to play Arkansas, which is going to be a big game, which Alan's going to be with us. We play LSU. Like, those are regional games. Those are drivable games.
Yeah.
I don't want to get stuck out in Florida. I mean, don't get me wrong. It'll be fun trips, man. But, like, on my wallet book, it's easier for me to jump in my truck, So, now, again, I don't know what the SEC is going to say, but in my gut feeling, I feel that it is going to be more regionalized, like the division.
So Jeff, let's get your input on this. I know you are excited about the idea of going to the SEC. Give us the positive spin on why this is a good move for Texas and Oklahoma?
First of all, definitely recruiting. I mean, no doubt about that. Just we need a program changer. We need, I think we need Arch. I mean, I think that's got to be our number one get. And I think moving the SEC could definitely get him. But, I mean, we got to improve on the field, though. Just got to – Sark's got to get us in the right direction. There's no doubt about that. But from, Saturdays playing in the SEC, I mean, there's really no negative other than losses, obviously. But, hell, we've been losing in the Big 12. Might as well go play the big boys.
I'm glad you said that because for some reason Ben skips over that part.
I mean, I'd much rather lose to Alabama or Florida than TCU.
That's true. That's true. All right, so we'll jump into this. There's no love lost for the Oklahoma, Texas crew and the rest of the.
I want to play OU too. I don't want to.
Yeah. The rest of the Big 12, they are not happy. I mean, there's been a lot said in the media, more or less saying pretty much forget y'all. And I'm putting that nicely in case Tristan's outside of his room. But forget y'all. We don't need y'all. Going to the SEC. We got it good over here. And secretly they're trying to join with the ACC and everybody else. So there's still some questions on what the future of the Big 12 is as a conference. But nevertheless, I think this year will be a competitive year. I mean, looking over some of these rosters and the projections, I actually was more bullish on the conference in general as far as competition goes than I thought I would be. Obviously, the consensus top dog is Oklahoma. You guys got a problem with that? No. Ben, you got a problem with that?
No, I get it. Right. I get it.
Okay. All right. So Marcus, you're the rep that can talk most about what it's like to be in the playoffs and that atmosphere. Do you see Oklahoma as a playoff team this year?
Well, It starts with Lincoln Riley and Spencer Rattler. Every year, Lincoln Riley has had an experienced, right, or returning starter. He's made the playoffs. So I think that's the expectation for Oklahoma. I think they arguably got the best line in college football. They're going to have skill, probably the best skill position as well, one of the better skill positions in college football. And you got arguably probably the best play caller, offensive mind in Lincoln Riley. The thing is, they do return what I think, let's say I have 15 starters or something, which is the most out of the Big Five, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Clemson, blah, UGA, blah, blah, blah. I think that is the expectation. I do see them as a playoff team, right? Like I think the expectation now is Alex Grinch is starting to get better players on the defensive line and in the trenches. We know what the offense is. So that defense is going to be a top 10 defense, as some people are projecting, to match what the offense has, then yeah, I think their destination should be college football playoff or bust. I don't know about national championship or bust because I just think that that's just an unbelievable amount of pressure for any program that's not Alabama, really. So I think the thing for Oklahoma is if they can get stops, they're going to get points. And I think looking at the teams below them, who's really going to challenge them is really the question, right? Like I'm looking at Oklahoma's schedule at Tulane, Western Carolina. They're beating up on the Big Red, WVU, K-State. Then they got then they have Texas, TCU, Kansas, Texas Tech, Baylor, Iowa State, Oklahoma State. I don't see a loss on that. I mean, I don't want to call it a weak schedule. You play who you play, but it's just like I don't see a loss on that schedule. And it's like their toughest games are, of course, you got Texas, which is a neutral site game, and then at Baylor. Like, come on. Like, I think it's set up, right? Like, I think that's the Oklahoma's very much like Ohio State, very much like Clemson, to where I know people saying, oh, we play a tough schedule. This is SEC. If I'm a coach and I'm a guy that's building a program, I don't want to see that. I don't want to play murderer's row before I go into this, tournament with 3 to 4 other teams. So, yeah, I think what hasn't been said about Oklahoma to this point, right? Like, we know what Spencer Rattler is. We know what Oklahoma is. And I think it's just the expectation that Spencer Rattler is going to take that next jump. So I don't know. There's actually some people out there who don't trust Spencer Rattler, who don't think he's going to make that next step. So we're going to see how it works out, man. But I do think they're head and shoulders above the rest of the conference right now.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get Jeff in on this because I think it's the real question mark when we talk about Oklahoma. Like everybody knows what you're getting out of Lincoln Riley. We respect him as a play caller, respect his offense. But Alex Grinch in the defense has really kind of been the X factor for this team. And last year that defense came on really strong, probably the last 3 or 4 games and rolled it into the bowl season. Jeff, what do you think about the Oklahoma defense this year? And do you see them starting the season like they ended the season last year?
They're definitely better than they have been. The problem with Oklahoma, though, the way that the style they play offense, it's hard to play great defense when you score that quickly. When you don't, I mean, they never really control the clock. Now, I mean, Lincoln will mix up a little bit of running, but just the way the style they play, it doesn't set up for great defense. But their defensive line is definitely improved. If they put pressure on the quarterback,
yeah,
the back end is a little suspect. But if they put pressure on the quarterback, it always helps the back end. But that's a question mark, definitely, because the offense will not be.
Mm-hmm. Out of that schedule, outside of Texas, who do you guys think could be?
Where do they have TCU at?
They got TCU
neutral site, right?
Home. Yeah, they don't play in Fort Worth. They got them at home.
Kansas State kind of has their number.
Yeah.
But
Kansas
I mean,
State
it's
well, 2 losses straight, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 2 straight losses.
So the issue with Oklahoma over the last couple of seasons, or I can't even say last couple of seasons, the issue with Spencer Rattler has been the fact that they just have these inconsistencies early in the season. And looking at this schedule compared to last year's schedule, it's obviously not nearly as tough as they start their first 3 to 4 games. I mean, last year, their first 4 games, it was Missouri State, Kansas State, which is a solid defense, and then they had to travel to Iowa State, and then they had to play Texas. which they ended up winning in overtime, but they could have very well lost that game as well. So that was kind of difficult, and I don't think they'll necessarily get that same resistance. But you're a big fan of Spencer Rattler, Ben. What do you think about Oklahoma?
I'm not a fan at all of Spencer Rattler, but so the way I look at it is I'm actually not worried about Rattler as much with him as wide receivers, because like the more opportunities they get, they're going to put some points. They're going to score. Also, they also got the running back from Tennessee, who I think is actually pretty good. So I'm not really worried about that.
What's the LSU kid transfer's name? He's good too.
Bradford. Yeah, Bradford.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot they got him. That's right. Yeah. But my whole thing is on their defensive side. Like Jeff was mentioning earlier, I do not trust the back, their safeties or even their corners. I think you can beat them over up top. Unfortunately, I don't know too many quarterbacks in the Big 12 that can challenge them, over top. Also, the other thing, which I'm really hoping Sark really starts doing, is rushing the way Kansas State does. Oklahoma, for as good as the pressure they get, they gamble a lot. I mean, all they do is twist and stunt. And Kansas State calls it. Like, they'll just keep rushing the same lanes, and they bust it open. They bust open big explosive plays, on them. And so that's my only thing is, like, I'm not sure the defense is there yet. But
respect, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, but also that's my only thing. I'm not really worried about Oklahoma's offense. They have too many weapons, man. They really do. But defensively, I don't know if they're there yet. And look, they could just waltz right through the Big 12 again. But once they get to the CFP, I'm not sure when those other teams whoever makes the CFP obviously has great quarterback play and really good offensive skill position players, especially at wide receiver, that can take advantage of the secondary. So,
all right. So we're all in agreement that if there is a representative from this conference for the college football playoffs, it's going to be Oklahoma, correct?
There's a possibility, man. I mean, we can roll into Iowa State.
That's what I was going to roll into next.
Right? Like, they return 11 starters on offense, 9 on defense, and people got a lot of trust in Matt Campbell. My issue is, I think in order to play at an elite level, to be a college football playoff team, it got to start with the signal caller. Whenever I feel like something's even, the first place I look to is quarterback. And when I look at the quarterback in the Big 12, Duggan, Sanders, Rattler, and then to me it would be Purdy. Like, I know people are really high on Purdy. He's good, right? I'm trying to think of somebody I could comp him to, like, right off the top of my head.
The most basic person you can think of.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good decision maker, and he's solid. He's a leader. He checks all these boxes of intangibles, but
he's an NFL Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, he does everything. He's like a jack of all trades. He doesn't have any great attributes, but he has a lot of really, really good attributes. So it's like, what is going to be Iowa State's, like, how are they going to separate themselves at that position? Are they going to be able to score enough points? I think, Matt Campbell's done a good job, right? He's had, 8 wins in a row. That's the first time that's happened in Iowa State history. I mean, he's recruiting at a higher level. But I ultimately think that if you're going to face a team like Oklahoma, you truly have national title aspirations, you're going to score a lot of points. I don't know if Iowa State, how they're structured and how they play to win games, I don't know if that's just enough. Like, Iowa State reminds me of old Michigan State teams, right? Like those Mark D'Antonio teams where they're really good in the trenches. They play really good defense. You got to prepare for a little trickery. They're going to try to hit you over the top with some play action, do those type of things. But at the same time, when the ball control isn't working, they get their ass handed to them, right? Because everything is, when they get off script and off schedule, that's how I have a lot of confidence and even Texas, Oklahoma, a lot of TCU in that case to really get themselves back on schedule. But I don't see it. But there's a lot of people out there who believe Iowa State is not just a playoff contender, but a national title dark horse, right? Like, they're kind of getting that in the UNC and Texas A&M. They're right in that caliber. But I mean, I think ultimately they play. Let's see, I got it written down. They play.
They open with Iowa.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
start with Iowa.
they open with Northern Iowa, then Iowa, UNLV, Baylor, Kansas, K-State, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Texas, at Texas Tech, at Oklahoma. So I mean, they end the season at Oklahoma and TCU, at Texas Tech and Texas. I mean, I can see just in those last 4 games that they're splitting those, going 2 for 2. I can see them losing to Texas and TCU, or Oklahoma State, Texas, and TCU. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of teams that play that style of play being national contenders, because the teams they're competing against are looking to put up points and put them up in a hurry, right? So, I mean, I don't know those guys and see what you guys think, but to me, I think Iowa State 10-2, man, a New Year Day bowl game, New Year's Six game for them is like the national championship, right? I think that for them, that's a really, really great achievement, and anything less than that, I think is what I would get worried. But I see them being about a 10-win team. I'm just not buying the elite status, the national title contender team. I don't see it.
It's like the Cinderella, right? It's like everybody wants them to be the Cinderella team.
Yeah, everybody wants them to be the Cinderella team.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to do that in college football. Like, you can get away with that in basketball, especially with it being like so wide ranging and ever changing. But like college football, more or less is virtually predictable. There's not normally a program that comes out of nowhere, or in this case comes from like 6th or 7th, unless they're in a conference like the SEC. Because like if Iowa State drops a game and they still win the conference, they're not going to get that love to be number 4. And I think that's where a Texas or Oklahoma move to the SEC would be beneficial, because if you do maintain that kind of status where you only have 1 loss or maybe 2 loss, and in an expansion of a 8 playoff scenario, you're still going to get in. Whereas if you're 1 or 2 losses in the Big 12, they're not going to give you that same kind of love. Me personally, I'm not high on Brock Purdy. I hate basic ass quarterbacks. He doesn't do anything special, and for me, that's a problem. Whenever I've watched Iowa State and they get behind the 8 ball, they can't come back because they have a quarterback that's solid, fundamental, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but he's not special. And you need to be special, whether it be your arm, your feet, or both. To me, to get to the next level, the people who have quarterbacks that are not special and they get to that playoff, they get blown out, and they're called Notre Dame. So you need to kind of stand out, and Iowa State doesn't stand out. Matt Campbell has a little crystal ball in him when it comes to coaching too. He does find his moments to trick things up with play calling, and the defense is typically solid, but if they can't win the field position battle, they give up points. And that's what got them beat last year against Louisiana Lafayette. That's what got them ultimately beat by Oklahoma, which they played a great game, but once they lost that field position battle, they just could not score enough points. And I don't consider them a dark horse, but I do see that as well, Marcus, and threads and people's predictions and everything. But I just think they're just a little too high. What do you guys think, Ben and Jeff?
Well, so I'll make little notes here. And so, as far as defensively, I did not know that they gave up so many yards through the air.
Yeah, they gave up.
So they gave up over almost 7.5 yards per pass attempt. TCU torched them for like 400 yards and 4 touchdowns last season.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Even Sam averaged over 10 yards per attempt versus them. Also with Purdy, as far as offensively, was that Purdy has actually regressed every single year. So his averages from his freshman season, it was over 10 yards. His sophomore season was 8 yards, and last year was 7 yards. So that's like a downward trend. And the only reason I bring that up is because if they're going to take that next step, he's going to have to like elevate himself like into like the elite status, right? I mean, right now basically almost like a game manager. Mm-hmm. But for them to take that really next step, for them to actually beat Oklahoma in the late in second half, he has to get that next step, right? And I just don't see it happening. I feel like he's actually gonna. Honestly, I think they're gonna lose like 3 or 4 games easy this year. I'm not a fan of Iowa State. I know Jeff is, but I'm not.
What is that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
I
a
think
Miami
it
fan.
is.
I like that comparison to Michigan State, Marcus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's spot on. Like,
The thing-
if they're not going to turn the ball over, they're going to have a chance to win ball games.
Yep.
I mean, they've got players. You know, they're not deep, but they got players.
The thing I want to know too is
That's Jerry Cobb.
What I want to know too is I always think a lot plays into that. When you're a top 5 team like Ohio State, we're used to getting everybody's best shot, right? Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson. How do programs transition from the hunted to the hunter? This is the first time they've been in the preseason top 10 in program history. You can't sneak up on people now, right? People are going to game plan you better. They're not going to take you for granted. How does Matt Campbell handle that now? And it's like when you transition and you get your program into, and we saw that with Oregon when they were Chip Kelly years, it was like when you go from that underdog Cinderella role to where, you know, we're coming in and we're trying to give everybody our best shot to now when you're Iowa State, you're receiving other people's best shot, you're in the limelight. How does your program handle it? How do the kids respond? How do things, you know, because in the past, drives couldn't go well, games couldn't go well. People kind of brush it under the rug now, right? Now you're in the national spotlight. Every single week, there's going to be a lot of hype around your program. You're going to be in this college football discussion. That's what I want to see from Iowa State. Like, what's next for them? Like, if they're truly going to be the Cinderella, are they going to be able to score enough points? Is Brock Purdy going to be the guy to lead them? And can they really transition from the hunted to the hunter to the hunted? So, I mean, we'll see. That's why they play the games. But I'm wrong all the time. But I just don't see Iowa State. I don't see it, man. To a lot of people,
I love his style. I love the way he coaches. But like you said, that doesn't win it all. Now in 2021, it just doesn't.
Yeah, and just to kind of back up some of what I was saying, Iowa State's offense was ranked 27th in their starting field position. They were 16th in offensive efficiency, 31 in offensive explosiveness, and number 13 in finishing drives. So if they get the field position, clearly the data is there that shows that they can put up points. But it's just when they don't, they're just a different team.
The tight end, he's a bad dude in the red zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Breece Hall, man, for what it's worth, that guy's solid. Like you can't really, like, we've been talking a lot about Purdy, but Hall is also kind of like their go-to. He's consistent. He averaged 5.6 yards a carry last year, had 21 touchdowns. Like, that's pretty damn.
He's probably the best running back in the country, honestly.
Yeah,
he should be in the running back. Duke Walker.
Yeah.
Is it Duke Walker that's the running back?
Yeah.
I like my boy from what was my boy from?
I said what I said.
I like my boy from UTSA for real.
Purdy is Connor Cook 2.0. You guys remember Connor Cook at Michigan State?
I was about to say that.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Didn't they make the CFP?
Yeah, they made the college football player. Yeah, that's the year that I don't want to get on. I don't want to get on that. I don't. We'll say that for the Big Ten show. I was going to say,
how did that end for them though? Eventually, but key points real quick before we switch to Iowa State is returning 19 starters from last year's team, which again, the quarterback is a senior. The tight end Jeff mentioned is a senior. Of their 9 returning starters on defense,
they're getting a receiver back too that was out last year.
Yeah,
what's his name? Ben
Hutchinson
is Xavier Hutchinson.
Oh, Hutchinson. Well, it was him or the Sean
Shaw Jr.
Yeah. How tall is he?
6'6".
Yeah, he's the one that missed last year.
Okay, Sean Shaw 6'6", 212.
Hutchinson was there last year. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then they need to make sure they get him involved because, again, they've got all the pieces, but we will see. I'm not sold on them, but, again, we will see. They got to get starting position, too, at rank 7th. So if they can find their way into the top 4 some kind of way, it would take, obviously, a Big 12 championship. But they're in a better position than most in a conference like the Big 12 would be. Let's see. I guess if we're going with the third best team, it would be these bums from Austin.
Oh God.
This is the moment that you guys have all been waiting for. You get to tell me about all your grand dreams of how Sarkey's gonna save you. I'm gonna bring a bottle of Tito's when we go to Arkansas. And if he wins, I'll make sure I hand it to him personally. And we'll see how he coaches the next game. All right, so it's a new day. in Texas. You guys got Steve Sarkisian, far from the Urban Meyer that we had heard about you getting for months and months and months. But I'll let you go ahead, Ben, since you the real super fan, because I trust Jeff. Jeff's gonna have some logic behind it.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, you see how I muted him too. I'm so glad we got that feature.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me.
Oh, it was Jeff. Oh,
No, that was me.
Marcus.
Oh, but
Oh man, Tennessee Orange.
give me your positives and then give me your negatives on the Sarkisian hire.
My biggest positive is his defensive staff. I love PK. I think he's the one. So the rap is that we've gotten really good blue chip recruits, but we just never know what to do with them. On the defensive side of the ball, I think we're very underrated up in the middle. I know Marcus later on is probably going to start snapping about our limited amount of all Big 12 first team members from Texas.
I was actually going
to. Oh, you were going to do that?
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, man, we really have some studs up front, and I'm just really excited about PK. Now, offensively, I'm not sure who's going to be the quarterback. I'm just putting all my faith in Sark that he will figure it out. Just a big Hudson Card fan. I'm actually, I really don't care between him or Casey. Just whoever can get us, who can even game manage at this point. All they have to do is just run the ball with the John. But I know for a fact that Sark's going to have better play calling, a better scheme. He's going to actually keep what's working, unlike Tom did. Turtle Tom, just like for every good thing he did, for whatever reason, I guess he thought he was going to outsmart the defensive coordinator and try doing something totally different that didn't work. So I'm just done with that experience. I'm all on board on Sark. We'll just see where the offense goes, but the most exciting part I am is on the defensive side of the ball. I really think that we're going to be very, very good on that side.
All right, Jeff, what you think, man?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. I really think we got some potential. I think a lot of it depends on the offensive line. I'm nervous about the offensive line. If whoever we got, Card or Casey, they're going to need, obviously like every quarterback, but they're going to need protection. They can't rely. Bijan's got to be Bijan. He's got to be all he's said to be. All his hype has got to live. He's got to live up to it for us to be 9-3, 10-2. Dare I say 11-1. But I really worry about the offensive line. I think the defense. I trust PK. He did it in Washington. He's, and like Ben said, the defensive line they got some studs. I worry a little bit about our back end. I worry about not. We haven't got pressure on the quarterback. The last 3 or 4 years, and we lost our best, edge rusher there. Osai.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know anymore. I think we'll be better. I think you'll see a better product on the field. I know that for sure. I know he's a better coach than Tom Herman. He's a better play caller. I think he's better with the kids. I think the kids will play hard for him. But
the reason why we're like this too, Alan, is because
I'm gunshot, man.
Yeah, we're always on the boards, like on Texas boards.
Mm-hmm.
And this has probably been like the most pessimistic reports were coming out of camps ever. And so like sometimes we're like high, and the next moment we're a little low, just from just based on the reports or whatever. But from as long as I've been following, man, I've never seen like so much pessimism, from a board, from a community, whatever, from the 9-9 and 5ers, like just the moderators and stuff, which I think is actually a good sign. I think after the whole all gas no brakes thing that was like carrying through the spring, early summer, this kind of like maybe tempered down expectations a little bit, and I think it's gotten to the point where people are now expecting like a 7-5 or whatever season, just barely over 500, and I don't think it's going to work that at all. So,
James, I will let you know. We do a point spread show and things like that. This build up is just to preview the teams, but I have a gem for you and everybody else, and I'm glad I got Jeff here. We gonna go ahead and we gonna get this out the way right now. I want to hear Jeff's pick. All right, so I'll give you the backstory. Texas is hosting Louisiana Lafayette September 4th in game one of what should be an interesting game.
Like the water
the line opened at 14.5 back in April or May. It was plus 14.5. It is now plus 9.5 as everybody and their mama, including myself, has been taking Louisiana Lafayette. Jeff is a guy I respect a lot. I want to hear your pick, Jeff, and don't lie to me, man. Don't lie to me.
I'm laying it. I'm laying it.
Oh.
Hey, man.
Hey, permission to post the screenshot.
Post
with all right, because it's gonna be hilarious. I gave it to the third quarter. God damn, Sarkeesian. That is awesome, man. That is awesome. Hey, you know what? I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that you have faith in your squad. But usually this is where I say Marcus is tripping. But go ahead, Marcus. Tell him what your play is, man.
So I'm taking ULL money line, and I'm taking them to cover. I'm taking everything. I'm loading up on the over. I'm taking the money line, and I also, going to take them to cover. My thing with Texas is, I think there's going to be a transition period, right? It always happens. Very few programs don't. Ohio State, we were very, very lucky from the transition from Urban Meyer to Ryan Day. I mean, truly, we were lucky. I'm just trying to think of other programs who are similar. Oklahoma, very lucky to replace somebody like Bob Stoops with Lincoln Riley. Those covers were also a little more full with elite top end players that Texas has. I do think Hudson Card, I don't know what's going on. I haven't really seen what a lot of reports from Texas, what training camp has been, but we do know what we have. I think we've seen what Casey Thompson has. I think he could be a very effective dual threat quarterback in an RPOs-based offense, right? We know what Sark wants to do. He wants to run the ball first. He wants to get the ball on the edge, and he wants to get the ball out of the quarterback hands fast. Don't know a lot about Hudson Card outside of high school, but the dude's a baller, and I think, he has prototypical size. He has good arm strength. I don't know really much about his decision-making, how he really truly commands and runs the offense, but looking at Texas outside of ULL, and I'm thinking Louisiana, you got Arkansas, Rice, you got Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma State, at Baylor, at Iowa State, Kansas, at West Virginia, and Kansas State. I think I could see a 2-loss season for the Longhorns. I know I bashed Steve Sarkisian. I do think this, right? Like, Sark's going to get it right. Now, what does get it right looks like?
I see 3 or 4.
Yeah. I mean, possibly. I think I could see that happening too, but I think Bijan Robinson is special, right? Because we all know, he should be a Buckeye. The whole blah blah blah. His family didn't want him to.
God's plan, baby.
Whatever, but he's a Longhorn, and he's going to have a chance to have that elusive college football 1,000-yard season, right? Like, he's a back that literally is all 3 dimensions. He blocks, he catches, and he runs. He can run in zone schemes. He runs great between the tackle, has great vision, and he's also big enough to be able to run gap scheme. He runs in between the tackle on powers, on counters. I mean, it's probably the best out of him, and also the running back from Iowa State, probably the 2 best running backs in college football. Yeah, I'm hyping Bijan because I gotta admit, I gotta give props when props is due. Like, dude's a baller. So if you build the offense around that, much like they did at Alabama, it's a run game first, and everything builds off of that. I think we're going to have a position to see Texas in to have a shot to be better. Now, I don't know if being better is going to equal wins early on in his tenure, but I do think, hell no, you just said 5 losses. I don't know. I'm just saying hypothetical, right? Like what the ceiling could be. I think Texas is more talented than everybody on their schedule, not named Oklahoma, right? And I think college football is a talent game. If you're more talented than the man in front of you in college football, your odds of winning are that much higher. And it's still Texas. And Tom Herman didn't bring in scrubs, right? We're talking about he's average top.
No, he didn't leave the cupboard bare. That's
so it's not bare. I think if he could get the quarterback position on track. Now, if they do beat a ULL, they beat Arkansas. I think you got a chance to beat Rice and Texas Tech, and you go into your first real challenge to TCU 4-0. That's a lot of confidence, right? I think that is how Texas fans are viewing the season, to say if everything goes right. But boy,
let me raise my hand. I just want to point out
that
you said have a chance to beat Rice and Texas Tech. This is how far Texas has fallen as a program that we're now saying they have a chance to beat Rice. I can't even think of the last time Rice put together 2 wins. And that's the type of stuff I'll be betting on back, like those deep back alley games. Like Rice have a chance to beat Rice. Oh man.
When I say have a chance to beat Rice, I was like, they're gonna beat Rice. Like I think that's a given. But Rice and TC and Texas Tech are two wins. ULL and Arkansas. I'm counting Arkansas as a win. I think Sam Pittman had a really good year in an untraditional COVID year, but I think with Felipe Franks gone and just kind of the new coach magic that they had, I think they're gonna come down to reality a little bit. And I think Texas beats them because I don't know what Texas has on the outside though. What's the receiving core like? Because I mean, you gotta have big play guys right in this offense because you're not really going to get a lot of traditional yards after catching an RPO-based offense. You got to have a playmaker, a guy like Devonta Smith, Waddle, the receivers he's used to having to taking an 8-yard, a play that you scheme up to be an 8-yard play, they make that a 30-yard play. Texas got to find a way to get those big plays in their offense. I think that's what they lacked with Tom Herman. I think the run game was always good. I think they saw those.
They had it with Duvernay, and that's about it.
Yeah, and exactly. So it's like you got to find those big play options. They got to find options on the edge. But I mean, I talk a lot of shit about Texas, and rightfully so. Because
Whittington's got a chance to be that guy, but I mean, he's unproven.
Yeah,
he can't stay on
Joshua Moore. It's gonna be Joshua Moore.
I don't trust Joshua. I don't
he's
trust
more proven.
Xavier Worthy, what's up with him?
He's gonna be a slot. He's apparently the best thing already.
He's getting hyped. He's getting hyped.
Okay, I mean, he had a lot of hype coming into Texas, and just looking at the receivers you guys got on the rock, because you got who? Let's see, Jake Smith.
No, he's gone.
He's gone
at SC now.
Oh damn!
But he's hurt though. He broke his foot again.
And then you got Josh Moore. You got Xavier Worthy. Who else?
Troy O'Meary.
Man, look. I'm not as nice as Marcus, yo. I'm not as nice as Marcus. I'm not that optimistic on Texas. Fuck Texas. Fuck Austin. Fuck the Longhorns. All of them. I don't care. I'll semi-root for Sarkisian because he's an alcoholic, and I don't want to make fun of him and his disability. I was like, but if I ever catch Texas in a game where the line or right before it says at. If I ever catch Texas at and I see Texas giving points, I will be on the other side this year. I have no respect for them. You guys are not going to sit here and tell me that a team in 2021 in the Big 12 is going to do anything with just a running back. All I've been fucking hearing about is the running back. This is not the wishbone era that Jeff so wants to go back to. You need more than that. If your quarterback has question marks, if your coach doesn't know who's going to be the starter and he's reluctant to even name it, and we're 2-3 weeks away.
He knows.
No, bro. Y'all got work to do. And it's not anything against the team in general. It's just what I see is a new coach implementing a system with a style of team he doesn't even want. He don't want a running back that's going to get 8 yards and carry and he got to run 100 million times. He don't want this faux Ricky Williams.
He wanted that mullet.
12 yards to touch. 12 yards to touch.
He did it with Najee.
That's true.
Yeah, but that was Bama. We're not gonna do that. What we're not gonna do is compare Bama and Texas.
We can compare Bijan to Najee.
Yeah.
And that's where it stops. And
you're right.
And if all Bama had was Najee, where would they be? They'd be Georgia, hopefully. Hopefully.
I also say this about Texas. The 3 losses last year were really, really close. You got which game was it?
Yes, sir.
TCU.
Iowa State, you lost by what, 3? It was like 23 to 26 or something like
TCU, they
that.
lost by 2.
Tom went for it in red zone on 4th
Yep.
and 1.
Yeah, that I ain't gonna lie, that was really dumb.
And the TCU game, and then what? Oklahoma, you only it was what, 4 overtimes. So it's like, I guess if you're looking at it, glass half full, you could say we were really three close losses away from being Big 12 champions. The first time since 2009, which is crazy.
Who's counting?
It's come. I don't know. I don't know. It might be a while for Texas gets a conference championship again, but on the flip side of that too, I think there could be some growing pains, right there.
And you lose the quarterback, you lose the left tackle, and you lose the best edge rusher.
And the thing is, it's like, quarterbacks, man, just looking at college football programs, the teams who turn them in and out are blessed. They're really lucky because it's really, really hard to find a guy at that position.
I don't turn this into a Buckeye show.
I'm not going to do that.
I mean, Ohio State so much into Texas. Are they not Buckeyes?
I mean, we own that state, man. We own that state. We got real estate from North Texas, Central Texas, South Texas. It don't matter. But, I mean, I'm excited. I will say I am excited to see what the Texas Longhorns look like under Sarkisian. I do think offensively they'll be better. PK is one of the better defensive coordinators in college football, and he did a really good wonders at Washington. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it is, do you got the signal caller, and can you get big plays, right? If you're going to win games. So I think all of those are unknown. If Hudson Card is the starter day one, I just want to know how that's going to affect the game plan. And what is Sark going to come out game one and truly put the game into his hands, or is he really going to call the game to protect Hudson Card? And I don't know if you really want to be in that position, like, early on. So maybe it might be some growing pains, and we'll see how they're looking. Having TCU, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State back to back could be a tough little stretch. And then they get a break, and then they're at Baylor and at Iowa State. So I don't know. We'll see going into October 2nd, and we're going into TCU. But I know one thing, man. I said this. They used to ULL, man, those regions going to run Sark and that colored girl out of town. They got to take him and his colored girlfriend and kick their ass so far out of Texas. They're going to shoot that. What Sarkisian is, what's his ethnicity? I wonder what's his family's like. Wherever they're originally from.
Yeah, probably Italian or something.
Yeah, so maybe not.
Armenian.
I don't know, but all I know is it just doesn't set a good precedence, right? Because there's so much excitement around having the guy. Like, I do think Steve Sarkisian is a better pick than Urban Meyer. I do. Because I think Urban Meyer represents college football for what it was, and I think Steve Sarkisian represents college football for what it is now and what it's going to continue to be. So I do think it's a better fit for the program. So I'll see, man. But I personally think that this thing's going to start off 0-1, and I'm just going to watch the house burn down. I can't wait, man. I like my beef medium rare, man. So just give me that beef.
26. Right, Alan, by 26. Oh, 27.
27, yeah. I ain't gonna let you live that down. I ain't gonna let you live that down.
I'm ready for my Don Julio.
Doubled it. Yeah,
bring that Don Julio.
Yes,
you like 27?
This man laid 27 when it was 14 and a half, and I told him what was going to happen to the line. I was like, oh, they're going to bet that down a ton. And he was like, they're stupid. Give me 27. I said, all right. So you guys, when you check back, you're gonna have a real sad face with Ben. 27. He wants Don Julio. I want mine too. So just make sure you have it ready. Again, Texas, just good luck, man. Jeff, since I got you on here, I can't sucker you like I did a King. You wouldn't take the 9.5, but you would take the 9, right?
No,
not even 9. Dang, you better than me. See, Marcus, Jeff don't even think they're gonna win 9 games.
That's how long we.
I'm looking at the schedule again, and I'm kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, well, the shit could really go off the rails when they lose to ULL. Like, it really could. Like, I think this could be one of those years where you may have to wipe the slate clean. Because, I mean,
it's the most important first game in I don't know how long in Texas.
Yeah, in a while. TCU, Oklahoma State. What's your gut feeling, said? How many you win, what, 2 out of those 3?
Yeah.
Who? Say it again, Marcus.
Out of TCU, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, you win 2 out of those 3?
At least, yeah.
I mean, Oklahoma State.
TCU is going to be
Oklahoma State's the only one I'm confident in. Well, TCU's beat us like 7 out of 9 times.
Hey,
Yeah,
Jeff, that's my sleeper.
TCU?
Oklahoma State. I trust Spencer Sanders more than
Duggan.
Yeah.
I mean, we can switch to OK State because it's an interesting team. I mean, he just got to stay healthy though, because when he got hurt last year,
don't just fly by my boy GP, man. Don't fly by my dog Gary Patterson, man.
Oh, but what was his record, man? Last like 3 years, like
he's like 19,
17, it's like barely 5, like 1 game over 500.
He only wins when he got a quarterback,
which is never.
He has one. Duggan, I think
he got a little quarterback this year.
Who?
I'm not a fan of Duggan.
No. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy.
He only plays good one game a year.
Yeah, us.
He's got to become more accurate too. I think we kind of know what Gary Patterson's teams are, right? Like he's a very adaptive defensive coach, but as much energy he spends on defense, he ignores the offensive side of the ball for some reason. And I think now you got Zach Evans, you got Duggan, and they got some playmakers on the outside, man. They got, what was it, Marcel Brooks, I think his name was.
They got the Texas kid.
They're all Texas kids.
The Texas flip.
Oh, yeah. Dang, what's it, Quentin Johnson?
Quentin Johnson.
So it's
wide
like
receiver.
The wide receiver. So it's like, okay, TCU, I think if they can get some consistency, man, and just an offensive identity, like their offensive had in the last 3 years, no wonder they're 19-18, because it's just been all over the place, right? Like they've tried transfers at quarterback, they've tried recruiting organic and having quarterback. They just can't get it going. But we do know what TCU is. They're going to play really, really great defense. Gary Patterson is going to make it really tough for you on that side of the ball. But I mean, I kind of like Duggan, man. I'm a little hesitant just because of what we've seen from TCU offensively in the past. So I think if they can find a way to generate points, man, I think they could look at 10 wins. Like looking at they open with Duquesne's.
That's nothing.
Cal, they should win.
No,
they got a bye, and then they got SMU and Texas back to back. SMU could be a little sneaky. They could be a
That's
little.
They started quarterback.
If it's Preston Stone,
Taylor Mordecai's the starting quarterback guy. Yeah, he gonna be the guy. That's what I was telling Actually Lazy. I think is like, yo, it's ironic that they go from replacing they go from a Texas quarterback at transfer to an Oklahoma quarterback at transfer. And I just thought that was really ironic.
He got somebody on his heels, though.
Oh, my God, no. That's not going on this path.
Preston Stone's the dude.
Texas Tech, Oklahoma, West Virginia, K-State, Baylor, at OK State, Kansas, and then Iowa State. I think if they can get it together, I think they're capable of winning 10 games.
They're good in secondary. That's for sure.
I think a bullish rating for them would be 10. And more realistic expectations would probably be like 8.
Yeah, because they got 5 games. They got 5 Big 12 games on the road.
Now, as a from a gambling perspective, I have to do this. I'm obligated. Gary Patterson is a legend. We will always appreciate Gary Patterson for not opting to kick the extra point after that game. I know you remember that shit, Jeff. It was tight. It was tight. He was like, you know what? We're good. Yeah, it was the West Virginia game. He was like, we're good. And he ran off. And I will forever appreciate him and respect him for that. So go Gary Patterson, go Horned Frogs. Ben, you're atheist. I don't expect you to believe in TCU.
No, I don't. I honestly. So as Jeff like beats up the Texas offensive line, but man, TCU is even worse. And like I think they got a grad transfer, and I think he's like the biggest pickup. They don't really have anybody on coming back, or they're coming back, but they're just not that good. And I know they have Zach Evans, and Jeff's really, really impressed with him, but I just don't see it happening.
Like, they got the other kid too. There's 2 of them. The big one. What's his name? Who's the backup?
That I do. Hold on. Sorry, I got.
They got DeMarcado and Kendrick Miller.
Kendrick Miller.
So they got a little depth at running back.
Yeah, no, they should have some running back there.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant along
yards
the
carry
offensive
versus
line.
Texas last year.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you meant offensive line. And like I said, Dutton got sacked a few times too. Well, you saw even as bad as our pass rush was, Jeff, we actually got pressure a lot that game. So
some of that was on him too, though. He does have a tendency.
I don't like Duggan.
Yeah, he has a tendency to do too much thinking, and
I don't think he has a high football IQ.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like he processes a little slow. He probably underrates his athleticism at times.
Yeah, I mean he's talented. I just think he's kind of football dumb.
Yeah, because I think it was the game against y'all where he just tucked it and ran, and it was a good run. And I'm like, dude, you could have did that all game. What was you waiting on? There's just kind of like some indecisiveness there. But I mean, he's going into his junior year. You think things like that you can kind of coach. You can't necessarily coach IQ, but you can kind of coach a little bit of situational awareness and work on people kind of being more reactionary rather than just kind of sitting there waiting for things to develop. So we'll see. I've never been high on Gary Patterson as an offensive coach or coaching up quarterbacks. So if we're having reservations about the quarterback, then they probably would make you lean more to what Ben was saying and going with Spencer Sanders and OK State.
Yeah, that was my sleeper pick. Is that where we're gonna go on now?
Yeah.
Oh.
So your sleeper pick. Tell us about it. Why they're your sleeper?
All right. So they were really good defensively last year, and I know they lost 3 players. They lost the cornerback, Rodarius Williams. They lost Amen Abumaga, also a middle linebacker, and Calvin Bundridge. However, they bring back Malcolm Rodriguez, and the most important thing though is they're bringing back everyone from the defensive line. And I actually like Trace Ford. He's really well. They bring back Israel. They also get the grad or the portal from LSU, the nose guard Sini Asi.
Yeah, Asi Asai. I don't know how you pronounce his name.
Yep, and then also Lacey as well. So I think they're gonna be stout up front, and they also have like 2 of the best safeties I think, and Sealy Kobe and Harmony Peel. So I'm really high on them defensively. Now on offense, the only thing is a little shaky about is Spencer Sanders. I mean, he's thrown like 19 interceptions like last 2 years, or something crazy like that. However, if he can get it together, which I think he can, because I think Light's going to hit this season for him. He has he has good running backs like Desmond Jackson.
LD Brown's good.
Yep. Well, LD, they both average over 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about their receiver core though.
Yeah, because they lost the 3 of them, but they have Brendan Presley and then Brandon Johnson. So
I don't know who that is.
So to what you were saying, Oklahoma State quarterbacks were intercepted 10 times and they lost 6 fumbles, spread across 849 plays in 2020, an average of 56.6 snaps between turnovers. That led the Big 12 and ranked number 6 in college football. So that's absolutely awful. And they do definitely have to pick that up.
That's gonna be for you.
Speaking of the defense, though, the Cowboys' defense improved their defensive success rate 40.7% allowed in 2019 to 35.2% last year. That's a drop of 5.5%, and that was second most improved defense in the Big 12 and the 9th most improved defense in the nation. So if they continue that trend, they return 8 starters on defense, like you were talking about. Trace Ford is one of them, and I do remember when Spencer Sanders went down. I think it was the Tulsa game. They held their own 16-7, which Tulsa isn't necessarily an offensive powerhouse, but still it was an impressive defensive showing for them. So there's some reason. There's some reason to be optimistic, but Spencer Sanders he got to stay healthy, man.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're returning
a lot. He's pretty young. I mean, you're right. He definitely has to stay healthy for sure.
They also lost their top offensive tackle to the NFL draft in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
But they got a JUCO, Caleb Etienne, who was apparently like the second highest offensive tackle in the portal. So I mean I think that's going to be good for him as well. And they also have Josh Steels, who's like all Big 12 offensive guard up front as well. So,
and this is something that'll probably surprise you guys as well. Their offense was ranked 77th in explosiveness last year, which I wouldn't think that from a.
I wouldn't think that either for Oklahoma State offense.
Yeah. So they definitely want to pick that up too. And they were ranked 100 in finishing drives, which is really bad. So it's almost like, if you look at last year, they just didn't seem like the OK State that we are used to seeing. And so I think they really need to, on the offensive side, try to return to what we would consider to be an OK State offense for them to really be what Ben expects them to be. But I'm not upset about anybody picking them to be like a dark horse in that conference to make some noise. But
you got more faith in Gundy or Gary Patterson?
Gundy.
I gotta go with Gundy right now too.
And the Big 12.
He's probably been outside of Lincoln Riley. He's probably been the best coach in the Big 12 in the last 5 to 10. I mean, his entire tenure. I think he's been as consistent, and we know what Oklahoma State is going to get, right? Like he may not get them to the next step, right? Like Mizzou when they was with Gary Pinkel, right? Gary Pinkel would always chase Daniel those dudes. He went like a strand of 8 years where they were just 10 wins, 10 wins, 10 wins, 10 wins. They could never get the 11th win and go over top, but they were consistent. They were good. They were explosive offensively. And that's what I see in Oklahoma State. Like, I do like Spencer Sanders. I mean, a crazy stat is they returned 13 starters, which is actually the fewest in the Big 12, which is a wild stat. I was like, everybody's experienced in the conference. And, I think if Spencer Sanders can stay healthy, and, I mean, offensively, they're always going to be one of the better teams. Well, do we still call it the Big 12, the Big 8 again now? Like, whatever these dudes are, the leftovers, and it's like, I think Oklahoma State could be the dark, like Ben has said. I think they could be the dark horse. Like, if I look at them on paper and just look at the brand and how much I trust Mike Gundy and what I know I'm going to get out of Oklahoma State, I like that more probably than what I'm going to get out of Gary Patterson and TCU.
I like the bitter 8. That makes me
irate
8. So wrapping it up, 3 teams that we didn't necessarily cover. They're both around like the projected 6-7 wins. Out of West Virginia, Baylor.
By the way, Tech is my dark horse.
You like Texas Tech? Texas Tech?
Guns up.
They got that Oregon transfer. I like show.
I was gonna say I need to hear this. Explain to me Texas Tech.
And then they got Sonny Cumbie from the play caller from TCU.
Yep.
Who's going to have full reign. And they always got receivers. Now, I don't know what they're going to be on defense, but I think they're going to be very much improved.
Mm-hmm.
Wells is a dead man walking, Jeff.
Dang, man. I liked Wells, too, at Utah State, man. I really liked him and Jordan Love. I was like, I think he would have been a more natural fit for a West Coast job or, a job that probably isn't – because Texas Tech,
but he's turning that offense over to Cumbie.
Wow.
Whoa, Sonny Cumbie had offensive control in TCU.
Not really. Meacham.
Yeah, Meacham he pulled the string.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Cumbie's the one that has like the curly hair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was Tech quarterback, remember?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Sonny Cumbie. Yeah, he played at Tech.
I didn't even have Tech on my radar, so I'm definitely going to keep an eye on them.
I do think they'll be improved. I think they'll probably be like a 6-7 win team. They'll be a bowl eligible team. You don't think so?
No.
Let me see. Let me look at this schedule.
No.
They got Houston.
That's what I'm saying. Like, no.
That's the push. Stephen F. Austin, FIU, at Texas, at West Virginia, TCU, Kansas. Oh, man, that's a tough game. Kansas State, at Oklahoma, by Iowa State, Oklahoma State, at Baylor. But no, all jokes aside, they'll be Kansas. But, I mean, I think it's 7 games. Like, I could see them for being 7 games. And then Texas Tech, West Virginia, I don't think Baylor's going to be good at all. I think Baylor's going to be the second worst team in that conference. I think the bottom tier is going to be Kansas, probably Kansas, Baylor, K-State, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas, OU. So, I mean, Baylor for me is like, dang, man, you get a guy like, I don't know what's happened to Baylor in the last couple of years to where
they played good last year, Marcus. Like They only got blown out one time. Like their defense was actually legit. It was really good. I mean, they gave Oklahoma a hell of a game, and that was Zeno as a quarterback. So and now they have like some dual threat guy. I wrote it down. I forgot his name though. Starts with a B. But there's a quarterback battle right now, and if he gets it, I mean he's going to use his legs, and that's what they might need right now. But defensively, Baylor should be pretty stout. I mean they also have I think Randall used like a 3 safety back end.
Yeah.
And all of them are legit. So
David Randall's a
defensively, I think they're good now. Offensively, they're
free art, man. Free art. So David Randall, the thing is, I think schools play to their identity. When I look at Baylor, I think they're an offensive school, right? I just don't see defensive coaches being successful in a place like Baylor because you're never going to be able to get the trench talent to be an elite defense, to build your program around a defense. But if anybody can do it, I guess it's David Randall. I mean, he's been at Wisconsin, he's been at LSU, and he's had, elite top 10, top 15 defenses in college football. But, I mean, looking at the roster, it is Bohannon is okay. I mean, he's okay. It's just, I don't know. This is the worst Baylor. I mean, 2-7, probably their worst record since, I don't know, what year was that? 2016 when they went like 1-11 or something like that. And Baylor has consistently built their reputation back up, between even post art, they had some decent success. Well, I think it was, no, not really. 2016, they went like 6-6 or something. They never really recovered, but I don't know. Maybe I just expect Baylor to not be in the bottom half of the conference anymore. I think I would hope Baylor would be better than K-State and Texas Tech.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not saying that they're not going to be at the bottom. I'm just saying they're actually like they play hard.
Oh,
so,
No.
That's all I meant. Like they're not just an easy walkover. You got to earn it. That's all I'm saying. I know that's coach speak, but
West Virginia, I mean, I think Neil Brown has a decent thing going. I think looking at their schedule, I had circled a couple of games that were interesting. At Maryland, the Terps
skipped over that game.
Look, I know you got PTSD.
I thought it was
At Maryland, they got Long Island. Then they play the Hokies at Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, at Texas State, Texas, and Kansas. Manageable schedule. I think they got They also got 5 conference games on the road. Jared, is it Dodgy or Dodge? I always call him Dodge.
Doge.
Doge,
yeah.
Jared Douche or whatever it is. No.
Or Daggy. It's Daggy or Doge?
Doge or Daggy. I think he's solid, right? And Neil Brown coming from Troy, running fast-paced, air raid.
He's a Texan, by the way, Alan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's like, West Virginia is going to be West Virginia. I think looking at it,
aren't you worried about all the transfers they have?
What's up?
Aren't you worried about the portal guys they left? Like, it was like.
Yes. I mean, that is an issue, but I just think, like, for West Virginia, it's not like they were competing to be 10-2, 10-3, right? Like, I think to them, it's getting back to being respectable West Virginia, to those years to when they were really, really good. I mean, they've been really good in the past. And so it's like, I don't know really what to expect from West Virginia anymore. Like, I know they play fast and they score a lot of points, but that's literally it. And
they'll be tough at home and okay on the road.
On the road, right? And that's from a bettor's perspective, I'm like, I just don't trust West Virginia to.
If I could interject, if we're giving a gambling tip, just keep in mind West Virginia did not win a road game last year at all. All 4 of their losses came on the road. I would be mindful of that this year.
Yeah, Oklahoma State they lost, Texas Tech they lost, Texas they lost, and
Iowa State. Yep.
K-State could be a sleeper too. Shout out
K-State. I was
going to get Skylar back.
Skylar Thompson.
What was he 4-0 before he got hurt last year?
Yeah, he ended up getting hurt. As long as he can stay healthy.
They got the little running back.
I think they're returning about 9 starters on defense.
Yeah.
And Kleiman's a winner.
Listen, there's no dark horse candidate who's going to consistently line up in the I formation. You're not going I formation, ISO, and power me to death, and then get on the show.
Maybe they'll get into like a pistol formation, man. They're going to come out and surprise you this year.
Like Nevada.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So you never know. But look, fellas, I would love to talk more trash about Texas, but I understand Ben has to get back to his message board trolling, so I'm going to let you guys go. But when we do the gambling portion of the show, I will be bringing YouTube back week 2 for sure. Matter of fact, I might even go live because I'll be in there in Texas. Yeah, go live week 2 just so we can talk about how Ben didn't cover the 27.
Oh my God,
how Jeff really did start cursing about Sarkisian at halftime.
Don't take the 27. That's the only betting advice I got. Don't take the 27.
Yeah, don't take the 27. I would advise that and advise you not to take it live either if you even so much as feel it. Ben is a curse. But all right, appreciate it, guys.
All right, man. It was a good time. I'll see you guys next week.